Blue skies and rainbows and sunbeams from heaven are what I can see. When my Lord is living in me, I know that Jesus is well and alive today. He makes his home in my heart. Nevermore will I be all alone since he promised me that we never would part. Well, good Sunday evening to you, kids. Welcome to another Sunday night science and the Bible. You know, it's springtime and we're starting to see flowers bloom. The trees are getting green, and it's always neat when the flowers bloom and start to smell them and get to see them and all their different colors. And I've been thinking about that a little bit, and I have a couple of pictures of flowers I wanted to show you real quick and talk about. I want to show you this one. Now, we don't really have any of these around here, but this is called a Venus flytrap. The Venus flytrap. And the interesting thing about this plant, this is the flower right here. And it's actually hinged, and so it opens like a mouth, like this. And it sits there open, and insects can fly into that Venus flytrap right in there. And when it lands, it tickles some little hairs that are in there. And when it tickles those hairs, it triggers that flower to close down on that insect, be it a fly or whatever it is. And then it digests that insect. It's kind of gross, but that's how that plant gets food. And it looks kind of pretty, but also it's kind of a dangerous flower, especially if you're an insect. I think they're kind of neat, kind of fascinating how God designed lots of different flowers in different ways. Let me show you another one. I don't know if you've seen this one or not. Look at that one. Isn't that one pretty? That's kind of a pretty flower. It's called a Titan arum is what that one's called. A Titan arum. That's really kind of pretty, and it's a really big flower, but the really interesting thing about that flower is that it's really stinky. Really stinky. I would want to put a clothespin on my nose if I went to see this flower, because it smells like something died. That's what this one smells like. It's kind of gross. It grows in a country called Indonesia, and it has a nickname called the corpse flower because it smells like something died when you get close to it. It's one of the world's largest flowers, one of the world's rarest flowers. Its stalk can grow up to 15 feet tall. It's way taller than I am. And it can, the bloom part of it, the flower part of it, this part right here, the flower part of it can be up to 3 feet wide, which is the length of a yardstick. And so it's an amazingly big flower, and it does look kind of pretty. But it's best known for its really, really stinky, foul odor. It's the bloom, the flower part of it just smells rotten. Even with all of the grossness that it has, what that does is it makes it irresistible for insects to come to that flower. They like that smell. They like that yuckiness. So the insects come to that flower, and they help that flower pollinate to be able to make more big stinky flowers like that one. Is that kind of gross? Now, here's another picture I have of it. It shows you just how big it is when an adult person is standing beside it. Really, really big. Really, really gross. Even though it's outside is really pretty, it just smells so bad. And so basically what it is kind of the hypocrite of the plant world. See, we're used to having flowers that smell good, and we expect when we go to smell a flower that's going to smell kind of nice, right? And this one looks really nice but smells really bad, so it makes it kind of a hypocrite. Now what's a hypocrite? Let's talk about that for a second. It's a kind of a fancy word for somebody who pretends to be good only when people are watching. And when people are not watching, then they tend to do wrong things and make bad decisions. And so that's kind of what a hypocrite is. You could also call them two-faced or phony is another word for that. And so their insides and their outsides don't match. And Jesus tells us that's no way to live. He doesn't want us to live like that. He wants us to be better than that. In fact, in Matthew chapter 23, verse 27, verse 25, he says, "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You clean the outside of the cup and dish, but the insides, they are full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee," he said, "first clean the inside of the cup and dish, then the outside will also be clean." See, the Pharisees, they were a group of Jewish religious leaders. They taught the Jewish law, and were supposed to teach people how to be spiritual and how to serve God. But the problem with the Pharisees is that they wanted to look really good on the outside, and they tried really hard to look really good on the outside. But on the inside, in their heart, they were really selfish on the inside. They were greedy, and kind of just looked out for themselves. So they wanted to look and sound like that they care about people on the outside. But on the inside, they really only just cared about themselves and how they looked, how they sounded. And things like that, and so they're really kind of greedy. And Jesus said, "You're like a cup that is dirty, on the inside of the cup, but the outside, you just clean the outside and make it look really good." And Jesus said, what you need to do is clean the inside first, because that's the most important part, and then you can clean the outside and make sure the outside will look nice if you do that. And what he was saying was that your words and your actions should always be good, and it should always be loving, whether anybody's watching or not. You should want to and try to make good decisions, whether anybody's watching or not. You should try to do the right thing, whether anybody's watching or not. Um, and when we do that, when we try to be the same person all the time, always trying to serve God, always trying to do that, and we're not perfect, but if we can make that our goal, and we try to be that same person all the time, well then, that's a life that will smell pretty sweet. It'll smell like a nice flower all the time, and people will want to be around us, because we put off kind of a fragrance, if you will, when we do the right things all the time, and we're the same person all the time, no matter who's around or if anybody's around at all. And that's what Jesus wanted us to know. From his teaching there in Matthew, the 23rd chapter, and you can go read that whole chapter. He talks about that in several different ways if you read through Matthew chapter 23. But I hope you find this interesting. I hope that you find this information about these flowers interesting. Maybe you've never heard of that before, and you can look up more about these flowers on the internet with Mom and Dad's help, and learn some things about these flowers and lots of other kinds of plants and flowers that are interesting that God made and created. I hope that you're having a great day. I hope that you have a great week this week. I miss all you kids. Love you guys. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.